Hello, everybody. How you doing today? I needed to jump on here and explain some things. Um, if you've been following along, um, I talk a lot about God, what it is, what it isn't, um, and there's so many layers to it. That it's very difficult to understand. And I can understand that. So um, it's possible that it may be easier to try to explain it rather than, um, try to piece together what I'm trying to say through different posts. I've written quite extensively on this. Even in some of my longer writings, I've had full page and multiple page writings talking about this subject from all different types of perspectives and points of view and time frames and things like that. But if you don't have all of my material in front of you and you're not knowing where to look, it could you're not seeing it. So hopefully I can nutshell uh, this God subject here in this video, and we can all understand a little bit. So, my first teaching, I guess, of what, yeah, so my first teaching of what God was through the Catholic religion. I grew up going to Sunday school and going to church on Sundays from the earliest age I can remember up until about 12 or 13. And that's when I began using cannabis. And once I used cannabis, I remember vividly this experience where I went to church for the first time high. And I remember feeling extremely uncomfortable. I remember seeing a bunch of adults. Remember, this is from a 12-year-old's perspective. I remember seeing a bunch of grown adults on their knees chanting and praying, and it felt for the first time in my life like I was in the middle of a cult. And then seeing and hearing all the talk about blood and death and sacrifice and all these things, and it was very clear to me that this is not okay. This is not right. This is sick. And it scared me because you have a bunch of adults doing these things. It's supposed to be the children who are confused. And finally I was looking at a group of adults and I said, all these people are confused. And it was scary to me. I began distancing myself, not going to church at that age. From that age on, periodically I found myself kind of bopping back and forth through different periods of my life while I was going through different things. I'm still unsure and confused about things, right? Um, I always wanted and felt like there was a higher power or a deeper connection to things that wasn't so much physical or on the surface. And I guess the only thing at the time for me that I knew where to find that was in a church. And whew, thank goodness, not thank God, but thank goodness I eventually removed myself completely from that environment and moved on to bigger, better, and more honest and truthful things. And so my first teaching of what God was a male figure, a person who they would call the father, right? So they want you to look at this person like a father figure. So they're bigger than you, they're older than you, they're wiser than you, you have to show them respect, right? As we're raised and taught in society these days, we have to show respect and praise and worship and honor to this being. This being is your creator, and this being created everything, and this is the only being of its kind, right? But then you start hearing all these awful stories about this being and the awful things that they do. And again, even from a very young age, I'm thinking, if you had a being with this type of power and knowledge, how could they screw things up so badly? And it never would happen that way, would it? And if it did happen, they wouldn't take it out on the creation. Um, it's not the creation's fault that you failed, right? So, and also this idea of hell and eternal damnation for sinning and being a sinner and going against this being, this God's ways and his laws, correct? Um, so none of it felt right to me. It didn't sound right, it didn't add up, it didn't make sense to me. So you wouldn't have this all powerful, all knowing, all wise creator who is such a failure at what they do. It just doesn't make sense. And then you wouldn't have someone who finds themselves in that place be such an angry person, because they never would have found themselves in that place being an angry person. You can't do it as we're learning now. This is what we're here for. Let go of the anger, let go of the lies, so we can become great people. If you found yourself in that great place, you'd never sit here and torture and threaten your creation, would you? All right, so yeah, none of that made sense to me, and so that was my first indication that the story that we're being told and fed isn't right. The crazy part is that so much of the population believes and buys into that same narrative. People nowadays pick and choose what parts and pieces they want to believe, but overall, they still believe of this father figure who's watching, but also is angry, and at any point will damn you and damn this world forever, right? It's this fear. It's a fear of, oh, I better be a good boy or girl. Just like the parents who raise their children that way to fear them, and they believe that earns respect. I'm not sure if that equates, but it's not the way, and it never would be the way. The only reason we're all here and this all exists is out of love, okay? And with love does not come anger, okay? It's not anger, it's acceptance and understanding. So if there were to be a creator, it wouldn't be the one they're talking about. That's for sure. We'll start there. Okay, so and then you can just kind of scope over a lot of the other religions, and for whatever they are, you still have the same narrative. You end up having a powerful, independent, singular being that is creating and ruling everything and is making all the laws and rules. And in some religions, it's a male. Most religions, it's a male figure. There are some religions still to this day, much more in the past, but to this day, where it's a female figure, a goddess figure. Regardless of what it is, they're always giving credit to a singular thing, one entity, and saying it all comes from here, and all of our worship and praise needs to go back to this thing. And we'll get into it a little bit, but it's not quite exactly the case. So then you start diving into spirituality. Let's move away from religion and dive into spirituality. And you'll still come across the term God. And people here have a whole bunch of different definitions of what that means. But essentially what they're trying to claim the word God means is the universe, or the source of creation, or consciousness, or these types of things. They're giving a term. They're trying to find a way to continue to use the term God in a way that fits their narrative. But again, it's not the case. There is a definition of what a God is. Okay, a God is a being who is a creator. We can find ourselves in that position, and there are gods out there. There are people who have made it to that level of status, and they exist, and they help create, and they're actually actively all participating in our story as I speak right now. The person you're looking at who's talking to you right now is on his way to become one of those gods. It's what I'm doing. Okay, essentially it's what we're all doing. Essentially, once we hit God's status, we all become independently free and can create the reality we see fit. And the reality we will see fit, because the only way you can get there is a loving one. Got it? You starting to get it? Okay. So, again, it is not a singular entity. It is not a universal force. It is a label, and is a term to describe a being who has made it to the point of being a creator. So, any of us can be a god, okay? And potentially we all are. So, let's describe what actually is at work and what's going on here so we can all understand. There is a male force and there is a female force. Neither of those things are beings, and neither of those things are entities. They are not specific singular forms that are like a mother and a father that you would see standing in front of you. They are energies. They are the force, the male and female force. It's the yin and the yang. It's the balance. Okay, but I'm going to explain what those things are. We hear the term Mother Nature, and that's pretty close here. Okay. The female force is, if there were a creator, it would be the female force, the female energy that is present here. The female energy and the female presence and force creates essentially the painting, creates the landscape, creates the objects that are on the landscape, and essentially decides how it looks. Okay? The male force, the male presence, is the light. Okay? It is the spark that is in each thing that gives it personality, that gives it life. So if you do not have the male force, you have a bunch of dead, inanimate objects. If you do not have the female force, you have nothing to give life to. So you need the female force to create the things. You need the male force to bring it to life. So it takes both forces, the male and the female, for all of this to exist. Now, am I worshiping and praising a male father figure and a female, mother figure? You can call them mother and father, but it's not a being. It's not an entity. Okay? We call them this because that's the expression of the female and the expression of the male. I'm going to give you an experience that I had to help sum this up very easily. I was going through an experience, and I was doing my own awakening as I continue to do. And during this experience, I'm sitting out in a tent. I had camped overnight, and I had woken up, and I had this real big sense in this presence of, wow. And that mother figure was speaking and coming in and saying, this is it, Brian. This is heaven. Okay? I felt like I was dead. And all of a sudden, I'm scared. And I thought I died. But I'm still in the tent. And I'm looking around, and I wake up, and it's like, no, that you're not dead, Brian. Okay? You don't die to go to heaven. This is heaven. We're in heaven. Okay? This is it. It can be as bright or as dark as you'd like it to be, or we choose it to be. And then I'm thinking of this idea of God. And every time you think about that, when you're on this path, it's like you get shut down because life, the mother creator, does not want you to get confused. So all of a sudden you start questioning this God figure, and it starts getting shut down. Well, all of a sudden I'm sitting there, and this fly, or this mosquito, I think it was, started flying around. And I hear her say, there he is. And I realized what it meant in that moment. It was the life that was in the fly. The fly was her, and that life that allowed it to fly around and land on me and decide to walk and all the things it was doing, that personality, that spark within it. She said, there he is, meaning the father figure. And it was amazing. It was humbling because all of a sudden, for the first time, I realized we're all connected. We are all that father. We are all that mother. We are all the connection. We are all the love, and we are all the light. What gives me personality to speak to you gives that same fly or mosquito personality to fly around and decide where it wants to land, what it wants to do that day. And, it's understood by our mother, the mother, that we are all very confused about what and who the Father is. Okay, she understands this, and so you can ask who God is, and she can say, she's going to let you know that it's not really God. That's not the term we're looking for, but she's going to let you understand what you believe, what you think that God is what it really is, which is the light. And so it's one of these things where it's not a being, it's not an entity, it is a energy, and it's in all things. That is the Father. There's a unionship between that Father and the Mother, which is the designer, let's say, the creator of everything, and the Father is what gives it life and light and allows it to be, allows it to exist, allows me to speak, allows birds to fly, allows flowers to grow. Okay? All the people with all the skills and abilities and their talents and all these beautiful things and all these amazing things that the animals can do, that, you know, that's the Father. That's the Father in all things, giving it life and giving it light. Okay? And the Mother's there making it all pretty and giving the Father something to give life to. It's a beautiful unionship. Neither of those things, they're not going to ever going to be beings that stand in front of you and give you a hug and say, hello. We are the beings. We are the beings. Okay? We are those things. We are those energies. That's what we are. We're made up of those things. We can give each other a hug. Okay? But it doesn't mean we can't communicate with those energies and those forces, because we can. Okay? From my experience, the Mother is who we communicate with. She's the one who can speak to us. The Father is, it's like this very silent. He's very silent. He expresses himself through his expression and not through speaking. I suppose when I'm speaking now, that would be the expression, or if a singer is singing a song, that may be the expression, or if an actor is acting out a role, that may be the expression. But as far as that light communicating verbally with you, it's not so much that. But what it is the Mother, she has a voice. And it's the voice of love, it's the voice of reason, it's the voice of honesty, it's the voice of truth. She is able to communicate to the things that she has created through the connection that the Father gives us and provides. I understand it for what it is. Doesn't make it any, more easy to comprehend, so to speak. What I can say and what I have been able to move on from is I've been able to close the Bible and realize that's a lie and it's not true. I've been able to step away and out of the church and realize that's not a place I want to be, because they share those lies and they spread that misinformation. And they encourage you to self-sacrifice in religion, which is the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're not trying to sacrifice ourselves. We're not trying to give up anything for anyone else, especially some invisible character that has been created and forced down our throats to have to believe in. So I've been able to step away from those things and relieve this pressure and this pain within myself of, oh man, I'm such a bad person, and oh man, I have this father figure who I'm disappointing, and feeling like every aspect of my life is to praise this being and to do their work and their bidding. Oh, what an exhausting existence and waste of time. So we've been able to move on from that. What I've also been able to move on from is the misunderstanding of the terminology of what God is. It is not the universe. Okay, that doesn't even make sense. The universe is a physical thing all around us. It doesn't even make sense. Okay. People like to use the term the source. What does that even mean? The source. Okay. Again, you're singularizing this God into the end all be all thing. Not the case. It's a two-way thing here. Nobody ever wants to give credit or talk about this mother. It's always the father, but never about the mother. Where is the mother in all this? And that's the part we're all missing. There's a mother and a father. Okay, mother and a father, mother and a father. And the father, like I explained before, cannot give life to things if there's nothing to give life to, and the mother is the creator of those things. And like I said, the mother has nothing, or the mother's objects in the creation is lifeless without the father's light. Okay? There's the father right there. The baby coming in right now. That's the personality. The mother's creation is the baby. The personality coming in and making the noise, okay, is the father's light that is inside it. It is what is our essence. So I'd like to jump back to that story I told, because as I'm talking here and thinking about it, I didn't give a whole lot of context to that story. I kind of jumped it very quickly, and I really want to explain this understanding that I received that day, because it was so profound to me that I want to explain it correctly. So this is maybe 2 years ago at this point. I had been microdosing psilocybin every day, essentially, maybe for like a year straight. So it's a process that I encourage everyone to go through. We all have so much darkness inside of us, so much ickiness, grossness, that we literally just sit with, and we don't know how to let it go. And really, you need help letting it go. And these mushrooms, they work wonders on the body. It is not about tripping and getting high, okay, and seeing things. It's not what it's about. That is what it's about for people who don't understand what it's about. What it's about is healing, okay, and understanding. So you don't need a whole lot. You take a very, very, very small amount, about half the size of your fingernail amount. And you just, it's like, a medication you would take each day. And it starts working on your mind. It starts working on your heart and your soul and your spirit. But it also starts working physically on your body. Your cells are left to their own devices inside your body, trying to do the best that they can. Your cells determine whether you're healthy or not. And so your cells are doing their best in your body, trying to do the best. But how good are we really treating ourselves and our bodies, and how healthy is our diets, right? So your cells are constantly battling against the things that you're doing and the environment that you're in. So it's why we struggle. It's why we get sick, and it's why people die and get cancer. So when we start using a medicine, a natural plant medicine like psilocybin or mushrooms in general, those things are like cell power food, okay? Power nutrition. And they eat it up and they love it, and they start coming alive, and your cells start feeling good and saying, "Thank you, Brian. Thank you, thank you, thank you." Man, it's been tough, and thank you. Because how much do we look for relief? Think about our cells. They need relief as well. How can they continue to work for us if they're always struggling to survive? Sound familiar? So we give them something that's going to help them. Now, we don't even realize what's going on. We go about our days. We're doing our work. We're doing our things. But inside, because we took our medicine, all of a sudden, it's working on our body. It's healing things. It's healing our digestion system. It's healing our neural pathways in our mind. Okay? It's healing our blood flow. Okay? Any illnesses and aches and pains and sicknesses that you may have present within you, it starts attacking those things in a positive way, attacking them to help heal them and get rid of them. And so I was going on this process for quite a while, and periodically, you can take a slightly larger dose, And for me, it was about 1 gram. No more than that. Don't need any more than that. You need something just enough to help open up that third eye, open up that mind a little bit more in a heavier way and experience. And so periodically while you're doing this microdosing, every so often, maybe you schedule a little time away in a night for yourself, and you have that larger dose and you sit down and you just let it work in you. You let it open you up. Well, this one night was one of those nights. So beyond this, I'm already a daily cannabis user. And what I'm understanding about these plant medicines, because they come from the earth and they're real and they're alive, is when we consume them, we're really tapping into those energies, that mother force that I'm talking about. That is who it is. You're tapping into it, and because it's a live thing, the light that comes with it, that father, also comes with it. So it's using the medicine taps you into that greater force, okay, that greater energy that we are, okay, that we've forgotten about, but it reminds you, okay. So you keep using it, it keeps awakening you, keeps waking you up, and keeps reminding you. But it allows you to build that bridge and have that communication as well that I was speaking of. And so I've already been on this path now for a while of hearing that communication, responding back to it, and acting based on that communication. And then when we have these moments where we have these higher dose experiences, they're very profound. That message and that comes through much louder and clearer, and for a much longer extended period of time directly. And so I was prepared for that, but I didn't know what was to come. And so I have my dose, and I'm laying there in the tent all by myself, and this is what it's about. This is how you do it. You take your dose, you lay down, and you close your eyes and let it work. Let it start opening you up. All of a sudden, without you trying to do it, you're going to realize you're beginning to speak with yourself. And it's speaking with yourself, but it's speaking with your mind, your higher consciousness, that light, that mother. And you start realizing you're having a conversation with her. And she starts going through all these things that are on your mind personally. Everyone's different. We have all different things on our minds. So she starts going through the things that are on your mind. Okay? Going through the pain, going through the whatever, the trauma, the things that you have been worrying about, one by one. And you go over all these things, and you come to terms with them, and you understand on a deeper level. And it's a very tiring process. It's like a 6 to 8 hour process. Okay, so a lot of time, but a lot of strain kind of on the body and mind, because it's so profound and it's so much at once. It can be taxing a little bit. So I'm going through this process, and now hours are passing, and I'm literally just sitting there having this conversation. And the person I'm a note taker. So I have literal notes of all of this conversation. And so I was taking notes as I'm going through this experience and having this back and forth conversation with mother, and laughing and having a good time, crying a lot, coming to terms with a lot of things. And I'm getting towards the end of this conversation with her, and it starts becoming heavy, and the light starts becoming a little bit darker, because you're coming back into your senses a little more, so to speak, down to earth, I should say. And all of a sudden, it's like, it almost feels like you just died, because you were just, so to speak, in this cloud of light, and then you've fallen down into this heavy weighted, back into your body, darkness. And it almost feels, not darkness, but heaviness. And it almost literally feels like you just went through a process of dying, and now here you are left in this body. And you look around you and you still see the same surroundings, but it's like in a movie where it's like maybe a person dies and doesn't realize they've died, and they're still in the same place, just not realizing that, hey, maybe nobody else can see me right now. Maybe I'm a ghost, It's very intense. And I remember I didn't fall asleep, but I was like, with my eyes closed for an extended period of time, and just letting this whole process work. And it was overnight, and the sun actually started coming up, and the light started coming up outside. And as that light came up, and I'm kind of in this fear internally about, did I just die? Like, did I leave my family? Like, what just happened? All of a sudden, it literally appeared like the light was so bright from the sun rising. It felt like I was in heaven, and that voice came through, and like I was saying before, and that mother's voice came through, and she said, "This is heaven, Brian. You're in heaven." And I realized in that moment, like, we dictate what heaven is. This is our heaven, this world that we live in. We don't look around us and see it because of the system that has been in place. But if that system wasn't in place, and we were all living under a basis of love and family and light and positive creation, you can see how this physical world becomes the physical heaven. Okay, it's like a state of mind, because the state of mind I was in that moment when that light was coming in and I was feeling in this place of heaven, she's letting me know that's all it takes to be there, Brian. It's all it takes to be there is this state of mind. It's a state of understanding. Okay, so I can walk around and realize I'm in heaven, but if everyone else is believing they're living in hell, what kind of heaven is it for me? Okay, we can all make it heaven for each other, though. So I'm waking up to this light and this heaven. And all of a sudden, like I said, this out of nowhere, I'm thinking of, like, because all of this heaven and stuff, and I'm thinking about the term God. I was just thinking in my mind, like, about God. And all of a sudden, I think it was a mosquito, and it flew by, and at first it landed on the side of the tent. And then it flew by me, and it was kind of flying by me and then landing on the tent. And she says, "There he is," letting me know that is the Father. And I knew what she meant. It wasn't "there he is," meaning the mosquito. It was what gave the mosquito life. I could tell that it was communicating with me. Just like many of you who loved ones have passed on, and you say, "Oh, I see this butterfly or this bird, and it flew right by me or it landed on me." That's that Father that gives it the light and the life to be able to come to you and give you that message. The object itself, the pretty colors that it is, and the wings that it has, and the form that it takes, is the mother. What we see all around us, this beautiful Mother Earth, is the mother. What gives it the life and personality is the Father. And so I learned all that in that moment. And I also learned that we are already in heaven. Okay, we have to create this heaven. It's become awful. It's become a hell. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help reinstate this back into a place of heaven. And I need all of us to jump on board so we can do that. If we keep waiting for a magical being to make that happen, we're never going to get there. And that's what they want. They never want us to get there. They want us to keep holding out and waiting and praying for somebody, because they are the only ones that are in control. Because we are giving them that control. Because we say, we don't get it, and you guys must know more than we do, and we're just going to listen to whatever you got to say. And it's just not the way. So I really hope that we can wrap our minds around the things that I'm saying, realize we are in heaven already. We just need to make it a lot better. And there is no God being. We are the product of the energy of the mother, which is the creation, and the Father, which is the light. And we are all those things, and all the things we see around us are also all those things. It's all one thing. So I hope this explains some things. And I know there's still a lot to understand, but this is a step in the right direction, and I'm glad I can make this video today. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please comment or reach out to me. I want us all to understand the truth so that we can all be better people. We can all have better lives, and this world can literally become the living heaven as it was always intended to be, and has been before, and definitely will be again. It's just a matter of when. I want it to be as soon as possible. How about you? I love you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we will talk soon. I got you. You got this. We got each other. We're going to have a great time.